All right, Matt, I'm going to get some smooth jazz going.
Perfect. Turn it down a tad, yeah.
Is that quiet enough?
Yeah, that works. Just turn it down just a tad.
I literally Googled or YouTube elevator music.
Okay. I was kind of joking, but it works. It's just literally to fill the silence. So.
Right.
We really seem like a class act with that music in the background.
Right?
Yeah. Sorry, if I talk, does the music shut off?
I think it quiets down.
Oh, okay. That's kind of nice.
At least
All
it
right.
seems like it.
Yep. Everybody who is here so far, we'll get started in a few minutes. So yeah, it's only 11:52. So hi everybody.
Nice music, Matt.
I was muted. That was Owen's doing, but I love it. It's very chill.
Y'all hear me?
Yes, Stephanie, we can hear you. So we're going to give people a couple more minutes. So just hang tight and enjoy the the ambiance. Hey, Nicole, are you on?
It's Steph. Can you hear me?
I could kind of hear an echo, but I didn't really catch what was said.
Okay, hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I had to mute my computer, but I had to dial in because, I don't know, it was having issues.
Okay. We can probably cut the music, Owen. So we'll get started here in just a minute. All right, I think we're ready to go based on the numbers. How's everybody doing this, let's call it this afternoon, since it's noon. Nice to see most of you, or I can see your names, so that's wonderful. Before we do a quick introduction, and we'd love to get everybody's introduction, but I think the Zoom would be over by the time we got through that. So just the United Way staff's gonna give a quick introduction. But before we do that, I just wanna thank all of you. Obviously, in these difficult times for our society, maybe for ourselves, our family and friends, and our workplaces as well, we can't thank you enough. And we really appreciate it that you took the time today to hop on this Zoom for about 45 minutes and learn about what's going on at United Way, and for running your workplace campaigns each and every year. You do a wonderful job, and we couldn't do what we do, and the community wouldn't be what it is without people like you. So I just want to say thank you right here at the top. That being said, I am Matt Zarembski from the United Way of Rock River Valley, and this is actually my 10th year as a relationship manager here at the United Way. Some of you know me, some of you don't. So those who don't, hello and nice to meet you.
And I'm Alan Jones, 5 years with United Way. I'm relationship manager and Ogle County director. So those in Ogle County know me pretty well, but some of you also who are Matt's ECCs, they do not. So again, pleasure to meet you too.
Good afternoon, I'm Nicole Bennett. I'm the Director of Middle School Success, and today is my 1-year anniversary of being with United Way and at Lincoln Middle School.
Thanks, Nicole.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, I did not realize that either, so.
Yeah, you can leave my gifts on my desk.
Okay.
They're in the mail. So we're gonna hop right into this and kind of look at the agenda. If you could move that slide on. And I do realize I have this ridiculous background on my Zoom, but I was supposed to be at Disney World next week, but I'm not going to be, so this is the best I can do right. So enough about my personal life. So a few quick agenda items we're gonna cover today. First, Campaign 2020, and our tagline this year, or our theme, is a small change makes a big difference. Then Nicole's gonna hop on and talk about her program in middle school success and how it matters now more than ever. Then we're gonna change over to Alan, and he's gonna talk a little bit about Ogle County programming. And then myself and Alan are gonna run down how to run a successful United Way campaign, followed by a little bit about our new e-pledge system. And finally, we'll talk briefly about virtual and traditional special events. So that's what is to come on this Zoom. And before I hand it off to Nicole, we are going to have a community kickoff this year, but it's gonna be a little different. We're not gonna have the normal 350, 400 people at Giovanni's. We're actually going to have a live press conference on September 23rd. And we have it penciled in for at Lincoln Middle School, and you'll see why we'll be doing that in a few minutes, but there's going to be more details on that to come, so stay tuned. Alan and I will keep you updated on that if you want to tune in on the 23rd. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole to talk a little bit about our Move the Middle program.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So like I said, my name is Nicole Bennett. I am Director of Middle School Success. I'm a licensed clinical social worker that's implementing a program called Move the Middle at Lincoln Middle School. Next slide. So a statistic that we know is 33% of all area ninth graders aren't on track to graduate. So in order to work on this statistic, we have a position, and actually this year we'll have two positions for what's called an achievement advocate. So an achievement advocate looks at attendance, behavior, course performance, and social emotional data to identify which students are off track. Once those students are identified to be off track, we provide interventions in the way of resources, service provider referrals. We meet with students individually, meet with parents, talk to parents, teachers, support staff, really anybody that will talk to us with releases and consent to be able to kind of figure out what's the root issue of a student being off track. So I go to every classroom at the beginning of the year and I talk to students about what I do, and my whole goal is to make sure that they're achieving. So they can identify themselves as not achieving, teachers can make referrals, we can collaboratively as a group be able to identify those students. But I think it really helps with relationship building for them to know that there's like a resource for them. So for example, if a student arrives late once a week for school, maybe somebody wouldn't notice that necessarily if they teach the student later in the day, but based on data, I would be able to notice that and could kind of sit down and talk with them. So I had a student who was late. His mom had a baby, and he was babysitting. So mom, depending on her shift, he would be late to school. So we're able to tag in childcare resources and really follow up to make sure that the student can get on time to school and really get back on track to graduate. Next slide. So about 3 years ago, donors and people that care about United Way and United Way mission were asked what did they want to do to make an impact in our community, and they identified high school graduation rates. So in Rockford Public Schools, graduation rates are 66%. And so there's lots of programming for early education and lots of programming for high school, but middle school is kind of like a middle child where you might get kind of left behind and not noticed. And so we really wanted to focus our attention as soon as an issue arises. And so if we go to the next slide. When we talk about middle school, people are like, well, if you're working on high school graduation rates, why would we start in middle school? And why is it even important to do that? United Way focus is on crime, poverty, and unemployment. And based on statistics, we know that a high school dropout is ineligible for about 90% of jobs, which is a very alarming statistic. And students whose families are from lower socioeconomic statuses are 5 times less likely to graduate high school than their peers. And in the United States, every 26 seconds, a student drops out of school, which makes about 7,000 in a day. So all of these statistics and the ones that are provided in front of you really show why this is an important program to have. Next slide, please. So students don't decide to drop out. I really, really like this phrase, and I say it all of the time because I think sometimes there's misconceptions about high school dropouts that like, well, if they just tried harder, or if they, weren't as lazy or something like that, or if they cared more. But these issues are so much larger than a student. And so there's many factors, and we call them push, pull, or fail out factors. So a push out factor would be behavior in school, bullying, something that's truly pushing a student out. Pulling out factors would be finances, issues at home. Babysitting is a perfect example that a child feels like their role is actually better served outside of school than it would be inside. And failing out factors are kind of those that people maybe think of, grades or issues with staff, things like that would make a student fail out. And then there's all kinds of large issues. So we've had a student that was homeless. There was substance abuse, mental illness, all in one family. Child didn't have access to food at the appropriate times, washer and dryer. So to be 11, to navigate that and still try to come to school and learn the same as your peers who are in a 2-parent home where there isn't mental illness, there isn't substance abuse, it's just much larger than them. So we really like to make sure that when people talk about this program and get excited about it, that we make sure that we as grown adults use our money, our resources, our time to be able to help students with things much larger than themselves. Next slide. So without intervention, if a student is off track in either attendance, behavior, or their course performance, any of those, they are, their probability of graduating on time or within 1 year of their peers is 10 to 20%. So if we say that a student misses 1 day a week throughout the week or every other week even, that creates a habit and that becomes a pattern. So if that student is off track with their attendance in 6th grade and they have no intervention, their probability would be 10% to graduate on time. And that's very alarming. And so we want to make sure that we get the right intervention to the right student at the right time. Next slide. Okay, so here is a lovely picture of Lincoln Middle School. So this is where I'm housed, and this is where the first year where our program was implemented. We're in year 2. In year 2, we are able to be hiring a second achievement advocate. So the students who had an achievement advocate last year, and we have data on, we will continue to follow. The goal of this program in using an early warning response system in middle school is to make sure they're on track by the time they get to high school. So just because we did an intervention in 6th grade does not mean by 7th they will be on track. Some of these issues, 12 years of homelessness, will not be corrected in 1 year. So we want to make sure that we continue to follow those students, continue to monitor them, provide new interventions for them to get them on track. We provided social emotional groups inside Lincoln. So 87 students were identified to have needed interventions or services. And so we were able to provide individual counseling through Children's Home and Aid at Lincoln, social emotional groups through Rosecrans, and some out-of-school programming because we have a really large population of students with high numbers of out-of-school suspensions, and there's some root causes that we need to get to the bottom of. Okay, next slide, please. So now more than ever, this program is important. We thought it was important last year, but we had no idea what 2020 was going to bring us. COVID, racial tensions, community violence, so many issues compounded on top of trauma that children already were experiencing, low socioeconomic status children were already experiencing. So students who maybe had trauma in their past but were doing pretty well, given our current state, that kind of reactivates PTSD, unemployment, food instability. Those might be things that we may have discussed with a student, but not to the extent that we currently are seeing. And so in terms of current situation, this week was the first week we had interactions with students. And on Monday, I had a small group of students I was working with, and we socially distanced, we wore a mask, all of those precautions that are put in place. But one of the students I brought up, okay, we have recess time, kind of activity time, so we should go outside. It's really nice outside. And one of the students said, I'm not comfortable going outside because of Corona. And I said, okay, tell me a little bit more about what that means. And the student said, well, there's Corona outside. I feel much safer staying inside. I don't want to go outside of the building. And another student raised their hand and said, I feel the exact same way. I'm not comfortable going outside of the building either. So I validated their feelings because that's an absolute correct feeling to feel, to be scared in these times. But it kind of shows the level of, I think a lot of us as adults, we quarantined at the beginning, like we were told, don't go outside of your house, stay inside your house. But we have since moved into kind of navigating life in a normal way, the best normal, I suppose, that we could be in. But it shows our children are not as in the same mindset as we are. And we don't know what has happened in children's families or what is creating kind of this fear that they have. And so I explained, you never have to take your mask off from the time you leave your house until the time you get back, which when we think about that as adults, we take our mask off as soon as we might get into our car or as soon as we might be outside, because we have more education about what's going on. And so for our students to try to learn in this environment and wear masks, my heart was very heavy on Monday watching children try to interact and play games socially distanced, and every game they'd say, well, can we do this game? No, I'm sorry, that involves touching, we can't. Can we do this game? No, I'm sorry, that involves sports equipment, we can't do that. And so adding these normal experiences transitioning into middle school would be difficult, but given our current state, we're going to need so many more resources and so many more people to really truly care about these kids and love them and spend time with them to address all of these, like I said earlier, much larger than themselves from their needs. And the last thing I will add is tonight we're having a segment on WREX about Move the Middle and middle school success. And so if anybody would like to tune in, you can get a little bit more information.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Just to add a little bit onto that, obviously Nicole's working at Lincoln, but our goal down the road is to have these advocates at West Middle School, at Eisenhower, at all the middle schools in the Rock River Valley. But you have to start somewhere, and Nicole's done a great job, and hopefully the advocate that we're hiring here in a few weeks will follow in her footsteps and do a great job as well. Just one more addition. I don't want you guys to think we have canceled our other programs that you've known about for so long, like iRead or Success by Six or our Strong Neighborhoods program. Those are all still going on. We use our agency partners to accomplish everything we do. I do want to add that recently, what was it, in the last month, we actually started construction on a new Strong Neighborhood house on Marie Avenue, and that's right on the edge of McChesney and Loves Park. So that will cater to those neighborhoods butting up to it, and that program continues to grow. If you remember, we have one on Irving Avenue in Ellis Heights, and we also have one on 8th Avenue in Midtown. So those are really growing as neighborhood hubs where kids can get resources, where families can get resources. And as we move along, as time goes on, hopefully we can open up more of those strong neighborhood homes. If you need more information on any of our programming, please reach out to myself or Alan, and we can give you more than enough information on everything that's going on. So that being said, we're going to turn it over to Alan Jones to talk briefly about what's going on in Ogle County.
All right, thank you, Matt. Obviously, the campaigning in Winnebago and Ogle County is much different, but it still achieves the same thing. It better quality of life for everyone in both counties. So we keep that in mind. But the United Way in Rock River Valley and Ogle County is an important step. It serves 26,000 people. Those funded agencies that we provide in Ogle County, that's about half the county's population. Over the last couple of years, we've awarded about $300,000 in grants for those agencies. The 20 agencies and 23 programs, they help people of all ages. So that's important to keep in mind because the population of Ogle County is so varied. It is primarily rural, and so that's a big difference in Winnebago County. So you're serving a different population in a different state of life, but it's important that the agencies that are working in Ogle County get the necessary funding so they can provide the funding to provide the services to those constituents so they are able to do what they want to do with their life. So the next slide, the way we're working with a lot of these things in Ogle County, we want to spread out a little bit. We're working with the agencies, but we want to make things more available to them as well. One of those things is the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. For the past year, that's been operating in the Meridian School District in Stillman Valley, in Monroe Center, Davis Junction, and part of Byron. We have about 61 kids who are enrolled in the program. What it does is provide free books in the mail to that child between the ages of birth to 5 years of age. Now, that does a couple of things. One, kids are excited to get mail. They just love that idea anyway. But it also builds the home library for the child. So as they get books at home, they're reading, the parents are reading to them, they're reading to the parents. They get more involved in reading, develop their skills. So by the time they get to kindergarten, they're ready to go. They're all set and things are looking good as they make their journey on through education. So that's what we're trying to do, and the ultimate goal is to spread this out throughout Ogle County so that every child between the birth and 5 years of age has an opportunity to have their own books in their own home. Now, of course, 211 is an important part of United Way as well in Winnebago and in Ogle County, providing a lifeline 24/7 for human service. So that's an important thing, whether it be looking for medical care, looking for food, for a place to live, call 211. That'll be taken care of. Now, Family Wise is an important program that helps out with families in getting prescription drug discounts up to 43%. And in these days, some people do not have insurance. In fact, in Ogle County, about 7.5% of those people under the age of 65 do not have insurance. So Family Wise can work with or without insurance and save yourself some money. In fact, in fiscal year 20, 96 people were helped in Ogle County, saving them about $12,000. So that is an important aspect to remember. United Way serves the agencies. They serve outside of the agencies as well. That's what United Way in Ogle County is doing. Now we're going to take a look at running a campaign. It's not all that hard, but it does take some time and it does take some planning. And Matt's going to take us through that. Matt?
So I realize a lot of people on this Zoom have run campaigns for your companies before. So these tips hopefully can supplement what you already do so well. And I also wanted to say before I forgot, we will be emailing out this PowerPoint. So if you miss something, you will have that in your inbox by the end of the day. So do not worry about that. So just kind of going through a few steps of how to run a United Way campaign. And this works for if you're running a traditional campaign, meaning paper pledge forms, paper brochures, or if you decide to run a e-pledge campaign, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But I want to touch on these bullet points real quick and go through these steps. So first, assemble a campaign team if you can. It's hard for one person, not that it's hard, but it's more difficult for one person to take on the responsibilities of getting information out, getting pledge cards out, doing the back end of getting things to payroll. It's much easier if you have a few people helping you at your organization. A great ratio is one campaign team member for every 25 employees. And that specifically really helps out if you have more than one location. I'm looking at you, Stephanie, because obviously the banks have a lot of locations, or if you have a larger company and you have a lot of departments. So have somebody who kind of is the face of the campaign in your other locations or your other departments. It's always helpful to set campaign dates. Allow plenty of time to create strategic messaging. Now that's kind of, when I see that, it sounds like we want you to create your own messaging, and that's not the case. We reach out to us, we can create all of that messaging. We can set up a time schedule so you can get it out at the times that it works for you. But our goal is to make your life easier. So don't worry about recreating the wheel. We can get you out videos. We can get you hard copy information. Pretty much in 2020, we can get you anything you need at any time. So don't feel bad about reaching out to us at all. If you are going to run an e-pledge campaign, try to allow 3 weeks to let us set up that page. And you'll know more about that in a minute and what that means. Try to set a campaign goal that your campaign team and employees can rally behind. It's kind of up to you if you want to set a goal. Maybe you only want to set a goal within your campaign team, or you can let employees know and maybe throw out a thermometer in the lobby, or however you want to attack that. That's up to you, but it's always nice to have a goal and have something to shoot for. And finally, try to set some key dates for running your campaign. And again, we can sit down with you and get out the calendar and say, we can get you this information so you can send it out on this day. And we can set up a little timeline for you, again, just to make your life easier. It's nice to wrap up a traditional campaign in about a month. So having a start date and kind of having an end date, and then things aren't just hanging in the ether. I'm sure it's happened to all of us. You just kind of forget, and things kind of, it's 3 months later and we all say, oh no, I have to take care of that. So again, reach out to Alan or I, and we can help you set up a timeline to have those campaign announcements, those mid-campaign updates, and those thank yous. So with that, I'll go to Alan for the next step.
All right, Matt. Now, naturally, you want to execute your plan. So the best thing to do is make sure you use your strategic messaging in launching the campaign. And one important way to do that is to get your leadership involved. Your CEO, your president, your manager, your market manager. Have them do a video explaining their support for United Way and why they think it's important for you to give to United Way, or the employees. We know why you give to the United Way. But it's important that they understand that if the leadership is involved in it, then it's something worthwhile that I should be involved with it as well. And send messaging throughout the campaign on any company-wide vehicle that you have, whether it be an intranet, whether it be a newsletter, whether it just be an email blast that goes out. Make sure everyone knows what is going on with the campaign so that they can participate. Because the only person who doesn't give to the United Way is the person who isn't asked. So make sure they all know what's going on with the campaign so that they can all participate and do what they feel like they want to do anyway. Run team challenges to encourage participation. You got one department against another department, a branch against another branch. Involve them. Get them involved as much as possible. And use campaign team members to help the campaign move along. Don't do it yourself. You may be the face of the campaign, but as Matt said, you can't do the whole thing by yourself. Be sure you conduct regular meetings so that everybody knows in the team exactly what is happening. Talk about strategies, talk about ideas, brainstorm as much as you can, and make sure it all gets back out in its finished form to your fellow employees so they know. Now, we have some ideas. Make it social. In this time of social media, we want to make it social. So the first thing you do is make it short and sweet. If you're looking at a traditional campaign, about a month, as Matt said, that's a good time to do it all. Virtual campaign can be wrapped up in a couple of weeks. So if you're thinking of using ePledge or something along that line, think about that as well. Overall goals, make sure you set them. Make sure everybody knows what they are. If you're looking for dollars raised, if you want to increase your participation, if you want to increase the average donation, make sure everybody knows what it is, and so they can participate again and be part of that. Communicate. Make sure you talk to people, whether it be using photos or videos in your communications. Let them know what the United Way is up to, why it's important for you to support it. Provide examples of our impact of the donation or your impact of the donation to the community. Everybody likes to know that their money is going to a good cause. So by giving it to United Way, we can provide information on the impact that it's having in the community. And if it has to be an important part of your campaign. Accelerate success. Special events are wonderful things. It can be everything. We'll give you some ideas later on, but they can be everything from A to Z, whatever it is your creative minds can come up with. I know some big things are food. If it involves food, that's fine, because people will show up and they'll eat. That's a given right off the bat. So make sure food is part of it. And live updates on your goal progression. Again, communication is key. If you're just that close to being to your goal, that may be enough to have someone throw in that extra $1, $5, or $10 to get you to that goal. So make sure you communicate with everybody as far as where you are in your campaign, and make sure they all know what's coming up next. Matt?
Thanks, Alan. That was the first time I almost started talking without unmuting. That's not too bad for 2 days, everybody. So wrapping up your campaign, it's always nice to put a bow on things, right? So start by, if you're running a traditional campaign, submitting all your payroll deduction information to your HR or payroll department. That's easy enough. Consider sending a thank you note to the entire company or to the employees that gave, and we can help you out with that if needed. Thank your campaign team. That's a huge one. I know maybe not all of your organizations have a budget for, let's say, a thank you lunch for your campaign team, but that's when you should just reach out to myself or Alan, and we can help figure something out, because we love to thank campaign teams. It's fun to go out to those lunches. Everybody's happy, everybody's fed, and everybody is excited for the next year which leads me to my last point, celebrate your results and set that goal for 2021 in this case. So wrapping up is pretty simple. It's getting to the wrap up that has a few more steps, but if you need any more information on wrapping up a campaign, reach out to us.
All right. We talked about ePledge earlier and the importance in these days of a digital or a digital giving platform, electronic giving platform. The traditional way of going around making presentations may not work for you as it has in the past, but ePledge is something you might want to consider. It is a tool that can be used to great success. Here's a video that shows you exactly how ePledge works.
So just to recap, I realize that goes by pretty quick, but again, we'll send all that out to you. Just a few highlights of ePledge. First of all, it's highly secure. You don't have to worry about any of your company's information getting anywhere but with us and yourself, so don't worry about that. ePledge actually streamlines the entire pledge process and can be used as the central tool for sharing the United Way story. It's all there at one hub. The way to pledge, the messaging, everything's right there. And you also can get, as administrators on the ePledge account, you can get real-time stats on pledges that have come in. And if that's something you're not interested in looking at every day, then those real-time stats actually can come to us as well. So we can do all that back-end stuff. We can take care of sending that off to HR or sending that off to payroll. So it's really how hands-on or how hands-off you want to be as the administrator. We can fill in the gaps. It's super easy. There's a lot of words on that screen, but it really isn't very hard. And we already sent out a demo to somebody today based on the training yesterday. So if you want a demo of how ePledge is going to look exactly, we can send that out to you. You can play around with it and see if that would work for your company. And again, it makes reporting so much easier. It comes right to you in real time. It comes in Excel files, but you can convert it to any payroll styles that you need to convert it to. So again, you can be as hands-off as an admin or hands-on as you want to be with ePledge. So a few other benefits. I'm not going to run through all these, but I think number one is probably the most important. There's no cost at all to your company. So I know for many decision makers, that's going to be their first question. Well, how much does it cost? It costs nothing. We run that actually through our financial system and our here, and it's all run through house here locally. So no cost to you. It reduces the need for paper pledges. You don't have to worry about employees losing them or yourself having to pass things out. Everything's right on the ePledge hub. Donors can still give the same ways they could give in the past, which would be payroll, credit card, a bill, cash check, or even stock. So if somebody at your company bought into Apple in 1985 and they don't want that anymore, have them send it our way. I'm sure that'll be the case, right?
Yeah.
Again, you can access real-time reporting, and it's always nice that donors receive a immediate gift confirmation to show that they pledge. So they get a receipt right after they make their pledge through ePledge. So I'm going to turn it over to Alan for some FAQs.
All right. If you do have questions, I think, as Matt said, probably the most significant one is the safety and security of it. Yes, it's very secure. So you don't have to worry about that because the connection is simply between you and us. So it doesn't go through a third party. It doesn't have to go through any place else. So in fact, you can read all the fancy stuff on there. Personally, I don't know the first thing about SSLs and encryption technology. All I know is it's very secure. So we'll just go that route. Why does United Way want all the employee information before the campaign? It's not a lot that we require if you're going to do ePledge. When it gets down to the basics, we need a name and email. That's just about it. So if that is a big bugaboo, you don't have to worry about that. It's basically your name and email of the employee. But if the company does not want to give out that information, there is an alternative. But for the most successful and efficient program, we recommend sending personalized emails to your employees, not just another one that looks like it could be something else. The time frame to start an ePledge campaign, we like to get at least 3 weeks. So if you can give us 3 weeks with all the information of the employees, we'll be sure and get that back to you in a timely manner to when you begin your own campaign. If you need ideas for your campaign, we've got them for you. Don't have to be too tough, both the virtual and traditional. Matt's got all that information.
Thanks, Alan. Like Alan said, it's always fun to put a little pizzazz into your campaign. So we have a few ideas for everybody here on the Zoom. And our marketing coordinator wrote pizzazz, and I guaranteed her I would use the word pizzazz, even though it does not fit me at all. But I hope everybody enjoyed me saying pizzazz. That being said, just a few special event ideas. A middle school picture contest, because who's not happy with how they looked in middle school, right? Our best looks. I was thinking about this. I actually talked about this on the Zoom yesterday. I don't think in 20 years anybody will have a bad middle school picture because they'll just pick their best middle school picture because they'll have 5,000 of them. I have like 7 middle school pictures to pick through, and they all look bad. So this will still work for now for us adults, but I think in the future, middle school picture contest might be out. But enough of me blabbing about that. Virtual lip sync battle is always fun. I've seen those actually in person at larger companies in the past, Woodward to be exact, and they ran with their high-level execs. And honestly, I couldn't believe they got these guys to do it, guys and gals. But they did it, and it was something to see, let me tell you that. A digital resource hunt for those go-getters of virtual workout class. Coronavirus swear jar, so if everybody's losing their mind about everybody talking about coronavirus, you can throw out a jar and say, we can only talk about it 7 hours a day, people, not 8 hours a day. So, or a virtual book club, an online tutorial about something that you think employees would be interested in. Apples Against Humanity. I actually looked this up, and I couldn't really find a lot of data on there. So get back to me if that interests you. Or virtual trivia contest or virtual bingo. Obviously, that's only like 8 ideas. And there's a million other things you could do at your companies via Zoom. And if you need more ideas or want somebody to talk through those ideas with, reach out to myself or Alan Jones.
Or if you want a more traditional ideas, we've got those too. The best one, well, maybe not the best one, the most used one, Lunch and Learns, where you can invite either Matt or myself to come over lunch, and we'll talk about what's going on with United Way. Admittedly, that may be a little difficult in some places, but it may work where you live or where you work. So think about that. Drive up lunches at your workplace. We'll be more than happy to bring some lunch over, and that will be good. Drive-in or outdoor movie night. If you've got the space, why not give that a shot? If you have a huge parking lot, you can run a big screen and charge people a few bucks to come to the movie. Box raffle, tricycle race, spare change jars or penny wars, those are always big. Probably the most often used is the drawing for the premier parking space. I think probably every campaign has used that at one time or another, and they're very successful at it. So depending upon what level of donation you want to give, they can be very good for your campaign. So we'll give that a shot. But again, if it involves food, I think that's probably a good one too. So chili cook-offs and things along that line are pretty successful as well. But again, as Matt said, you're only limited by your own creativity and your own imagination. And you know your fellow employees best. So if it's something you think they might really enjoy, then that's probably the best way to go. So just think about that and put that into play and let that be your best idea for your special event for your campaign. But the best thing to remember is just make sure you get people involved, whether it be this traditional virtual campaign special event idea or campaign at all. Because you don't need to do it all yourself. You can go to the last slide. Get people involved, get other people involved, spread the enthusiasm. Because if you're enthusiastic for the campaign, then other people will be enthusiastic too. And if you can get a committee together and get them enthused to get some brainstorming done, you guys can do wonders. And we know that you'll do wonders anyway. But the one thing we want you to know, and Matt talked about it at the beginning, is that we do appreciate the work you put in. Because this is not part of your job description. When you were hired, they didn't say, oh yeah, you're going to do this too. This is something that you want to do. Maybe it was suggested that you do. Still, it takes a lot of work to do this, and it takes time away from your real job to do it too. So that's why we appreciate all the help you put into it. We appreciate your help for United Way, your support for United Way, because you understand that we make a big community, a big impact on the community, and you want to be a part of that impact too. So when people can come to your business and see you on the street, say thanks for helping us make an impact on the community through your help with United Way. So that's what we have for you today. If you have any questions, be sure and stick them in the chat box there, and we'll be sure and take care of them. So Matt, do you have any closing words?
No, I just want to say thanks for joining us. And as for the questions, you can either unmute and shout them out, or yesterday most people put them in the chat. So whatever you would like works for us.
You're welcome, Jamie. So thanks to all for being with us today. We appreciate it.
So we'll hang on here for a couple minutes and see if anybody has any questions. But otherwise, have a great rest of the week, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll answer this one. Katie is with Greenlee, and she's a new one this year. So she says, thank you for the information. This is my first year. What's the difference between a pledge and a campaign event, and how do they work together? Well, a pledge, Katie, is usually payroll deduction. It can be payroll deduction. It can be a one-time gift. It can be, as Matt said, stocks. It can be cash. It can be whatever it is. A campaign event, a special event, is something that brings people together, brings your employees together. There may be some people that don't want to do payroll deduction or do a one-time gift, but they'll give you $10 for 3 shots at a basketball hoop. So that's something like that. So if you have a special event idea that goes above and beyond the actual campaign payroll deduction plan that you have planned. So think about that. Like we said, use your imagination, come up with some good ideas. Hope that answers your question.
Good try, Nicole. I caught that try. I don't
I
know
thought
why
I never have a chance to be able to try it, and it's not a good idea.
I don't know why it works here and not for you, because in theory it should work. You downloaded it, right?
Well, it's on, like when you do video, it says choose virtual background. I wonder if it's different when I'm on my tablet because I'm on my Mac right now. So I don't know. It's just you're gonna see my home office, and there. That's my background. That's what we got.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Sending a survey
Yeah.
out within your.
What they would like to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was cool because there were different people that had worked different places, so you get experiences of other agencies' United Way campaigns, and then if people had different ideas, like it made them more motivated because like, oh, you picked their idea. And it was at Children's Home Aid. I mean, we all campaign season, we didn't just do one event. It was months and months and months of events, and we would do some with food. We did penny wars all the time, and we did them based on teams. So depending on how departments work or whatever in different people's agencies, it was nice because then you're competing against other people, you can like link up and whatnot. Actually, Maureen Kirschman, who's one of our board members, she was really, really big and in charge of our United Way stuff. And so she was sneaky and would always find a way to cheat, and it was a whole thing. But I liked
We
the
do not
survey.
condone cheating, everybody, but.
Yes. So, yeah, we would have rolls of pennies that we would try to steal out of people's. I mean, it was bad, but it makes it fun. It really it's a way to give, but it's just gets people engaged. So.
Yep, and it keeps United Way top of mind, which is
Yeah.
I don't think special events are here to raise $1 million. They're here to keep United Way top of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we need to get out there, is that special events can run all year long.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just during the campaign year. You can run 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever special events throughout the course of the year, and each one goes to United Way. So it's not just something that has to run during the course of your actual United Way campaign.
Yeah, and I know given right now it's a little challenging, but we would do, like you brought up the chili cook-off. So we would do, depending on the season, we would do a cook-off per season, and then we would have leadership be the judges. So that way it got leadership involved and other people who, like to eat and like to cook. So you didn't have to cook, but you could pay to eat. We did pies. We did just so many different things, because also you can do things you take away. So you'll pay $20 for a pie that's only $10. 10 goes United Way, 10 goes to pay for the pie. And that's not touching anything. You could do it within reason. But yeah, just creative stuff. So.
Matt, do you still have Jeans Day stickers?
Yep, we actually found a bunch yesterday because we had some questions yesterday. So just pop me an email over and let me know how many you have, just so I can keep track of everything and I can get those out to you.
That's a good one for us because we don't get to wear jeans a lot at the bank. So people pay $5 to wear jeans on Friday at the end of a campaign.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeans Days is a nice, easy one if you're a place. And there's less and less nowadays, to be honest. But banks are always they dress up more than the average place, so it makes sense for the banks. And it might, I don't know who's still on, but it might make sense for your organization as well. So if nobody has any more questions, I think we're gonna wrap this thing up. So,
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Bennett.
Sounds good. Thank you.
thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.